Greetings to all the viewers from across the nation and the globe, and welcome to Treasures from the TCU Special Collections podcast. I'm your host, DJ Pereira. In this series, we'll explore some of the most exclusive artifacts from the special collections here at TCU. Joining me will be expert archivists and librarians who will give us an intimate exploration into some of these precious resources. So, why don't you come and join me and let's take a look at what's inside the vault. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of Treasures from the TCU Special Collections Vault podcast. I'm your host, DJ Pereira, and joining me today is Rare Books librarian Sana Bingham. Sana, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. So we are starting with two of our oldest items in the entire library. We've got a cylinder seal from Sumerian that's about 5,000 years old, maybe as old as 5,500 years old. And then on this other side, we have a Proto-Cuneiform tablet that's dated to about 3,100 to 3,000 BCE. So they're recent acquisitions. We're excited to share them with all of you today.
That's amazing. And is my understanding correct that these are the oldest artifacts within the special collections?
They are by a significant time frame. Probably by at least 1,000 years. We've got a couple of other antiquities, but these are definitely our oldest for sure. On campus, we've got some meteorites that might be older, but other than that, these two are sort of the oldest things made by human hands that are on campus.
And so can you explain to our viewers what is particularly significant about these cuneiforms and how they played a significant role in the development of language?
Sure, yeah. So these are both at the very beginning of writing, even arguably potentially before writing. So we kind of see cuneiform pop up properly around 2,900, 2,800 BC. And cuneiform is actually simply a writing system. It's like an alphabet that could be used to write Babylonian or Assyrian or Akkadian. It was not specific to a specific language. It's kind of like how French and German and Italian and English all use the same basic alphabet. So that was still taking time to develop. The earliest uses of this, or in a proto-cuneiform, was typically as records for business transactions, receipts, that kind of thing. And so this item right here, we believe it's some sort of receipt, but we haven't had a chance to get it properly transcribed or translated by someone who's an expert in proto-cuneiform, which is surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, not a terribly common job for people. So we don't know everything about this one yet, but it is at the very beginning of when writing is starting to exist. So here we have a 5 sections on our front, with a vessel, probably for water, with a single divot here.
Yes.
We've got 2 more symbols with 5 divots each. Here we have something that may look like a sun that has 2 divots, and then we have a 5th item right here that has 3. Those divots probably indicate measures of 10 or larger. It really, there's some variable choices here.
What amazes me is, though these marks predate history, they are eerily similar to what you would typically see amidst Roman numerals. And I'm just seeing slight semblances of those. How is it possible to distinguish between numeric markings and alphabetical markings?
Typically, in early cuneiform, we do have these semicircular, kind of angled impressions. As we go on, they typically move to dots or circles. Cuneiform is based, the name comes from a wedge. And so all of these marks are made with a wedge-shaped reed or something like that. And so dots or perfect circles were not a common thing. In order to make a mark like that into dried clay, it would have taken much more effort with that wedge-shaped stylus. And so usually anything that is a count is a little different shaped. And then on our back, we actually have a couple of things that are really fascinating.
Oh.
We have another count of, looks like 6 this time.
Yes.
And we have a drawing of an equine, a horse or some sort of related animal. This is a very, very early representation of an equine in art. And so we're pretty excited about that particular item. You'll also see on the back, we have these odd crystals. Most cuneiform tablets were never fired. So those who were making them took clay, they would create a small ball, flatten it with their palm, and so you can actually see how neatly this fits into a palm. It's definitely made again by human hands. And so they would let it partially dry, and then would make the marks and let it finish drying. They were typically unfired, so the only time that we have fired cuneiform tends to be when a structure that they were in caught on fire. This item we know was never fired because of these salt crystals on the back. These only form when you have unfired clay that's been sitting around for 5,000 years. And so we've got a number of different organizations that have worked on how to deal with the salt crystals and see things that are underneath, usually by a modern firing and other specific techniques. But as our tablet has probably the most interesting aspect of it, not covered by crystals, we consider these crystals to be an important aspect for teaching.
Of course. It sounds to me and it looks to me like cuneiforms possess not only historical significance, archaeological, but also geological.
Yes, yeah, it's where all of those things met. And so it's fascinating, the number of different fields that are involved in dealing with researching our cuneiform tablets.
Now, you mentioned that this Proto-Cuneiform represents a type of transactional receipt. My understanding is this particular cuneiform represents signatures. And
yes.
So could you explain a bit as to how those markings appear and how they were made?
Absolutely. So this is a Sumerian cylinder seal, probably from as early as 3500 BCE, so 5,500 years ago.
That's amazing.
And fascinating. And so these actually, this likely existed before Proto-Cuneiform did, before any system of writing. It does have some carvings on it in taglio. This is a little white marble cylinder,
yes.
And it has 3 women that are seated on it next to depictions of what are probably palm trees, along with a few other marks. Because it's a softer stone, you could actually kind of see some of the wear that it has endured, and it is has a hole in it. These are typically worn on a pin or as jewelry because they were also often believed to carry kind of an extra protection for their owners. So this would typically have been rolled over, often a mostly dry piece of cuneiform.
Okay.
But earlier on, it would have been perhaps as a seal on a vessel, with something with a lid that's made out of clay, so that way you could verify that something came from a specific person. You could verify that it had not been opened. And so these are used both pre-writing and to enhance writing. So,
for our viewers who are visual, just like I am, what's fascinating to me is though the markings are primitive, there is still anatomical attention paid to how the women are kneeling down and how they're positioned, and it's just mesmerizing to see the attention that was paid to those details on such a tiny scale?
Yeah, we have a modern embossing right here, so we can have a better idea of what it looks like.
Oh, that's remarkable.
Yeah, you can see that it's not very deep anymore, but we have that repetition of all three women.
So Zana, how does TCU Special Collections go about acquiring such auspicious artifacts?
So this past year, 2025, was the 100th anniversary of our library. And so we were able to make some additional purchases this year with gifts from wonderful donors. And those were these are our first purchases from 2025, going all the way back to the Sumerian period. We got them specifically from a dealer. With antiquities, there can be an issue with ethics. Perhaps they were looted, they were not transported correctly. In 2019, there was an American company that imported $3 million worth of tablets, but they were just simply labeled as clay tiles on immigration forms. So they had unknown provenance. Ours come from a dealer who is a member of the International Association of Dealers of Ancient Antiquities, I think, and there's only 3 in the U.S. That have this designation, only 3 dealers. There's 32 in the world. So to become part of this particular organization, you have to prove beyond a doubt repeatedly just how authentic your items are. This one goes back to at least the 80s, and this one has been known since, I believe, the 1940s. So we've got different records of their sale, different auctions that they've appeared at. And so we're able to track down and know that things didn't, for example, come from Iraq in the 20-aughts. That instead we have things that were acquired ethically, and that we have that history for these items.
Yes, I mean, I understand how important that is to establish those roots and to respect the roots and origins of whatever antiquity is being collected. So many times that we've seen throughout history, the illegal possessions or the destructive confiscations of irreplaceable artworks and artifacts. So I'm positive our audience is relieved to hear that TCU makes it their business, that the TCU Mary Couch Library makes it their business to acquire these, establishing their ethical and cultural respect that they deserve. Can you tell us how the students can benefit from interacting with these artifacts?
So there's a couple of different aspects that I personally like to highlight. Certainly professors that are working in ancient Mesopotamia might have other foci when they are using these items. For me personally, I really like highlighting the continuity in humanity, that from literally the moment that any ability to write began to today, you have the same sort of people. If you look at the women that are in this cylinder seal, they're a recognizable form. They have ponytails, at least one of them does. There's some long hair there. There's a repetition of culture there. And then again with this Proto-Cuneiform tablet, that it fits so nicely. And actually, would you like to hold it? You can see how nicely that fits into the palm of your hand, and so you can actually feel how human hands formed that into a flat enough surface to write on.
Yes, just as I'm holding this, I can see exactly what you were describing, how this was just easily formed in the palm of one's hand. So primitive, yet priceless.
Yeah, so that's a huge aspect. We of course have early art that is absolutely fascinating. So we can certainly talk about those sorts of depictions. I believe that this symbol is for a vessel, probably of water. So having students interpret ways that other humans indicated specific items with their pictograms. I also use it to help students understand the source of writing. Writing began because people needed to have a record of the transactions. They wanted that receipt. They wanted to say, hey, I just sold you 14 goats and they're yours and I get the money. Later on, we have literature, like the Epic of Gilgamesh is something that many people have heard of. The very first complaint letters to customer service, if you will, also occurred in cuneiform tablets. There was a copper merchant who apparently didn't sell the most, the highest quality copper is not what he was selling. And so there actually got cuneiform letters from multiple people lodging complaints with him. So really, writing began because we needed to count things, and then drawing a picture took too long and was not universal. So they created a code.
Okay.
So if you see these different lines as well, you can see how these are generally just simply straight hash marks of some kind. And so from this, you develop that wedge so that you have kind of a thin side and a thicker side of each mark. In a future episode, we'll talk about our two other ancient Mesopotamian items that have a more traditional cuneiform script on there.
So any student from the College of Fine Arts to the Neely School of Business can relate to these artifacts.
Absolutely, and I would say even our science students as well. There's, as we talked about, there's an element of geology that, goes into these. I personally can't recognize marble unless it's on a countertop generally. So having a geologist to tell us what kind of stone this cylinder is helps us understand the materials that were available and the ways that things were used that, again, someone who is not an archaeologist or a geologist wouldn't be able to identify.
Well, you say that, but I have to ask, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, what would be lost if institutions like TCU's Mary Cowles Burnett Library did not acquire and preserve artifacts like this?
You know, it would be a tragedy. All of our writing from the beginning of history, has led us to where we are now, and we can see different paths that we might have taken. The last thing we want to do is erase our history. It's important to know that there was writing before the Greeks and the Romans. It's important to know, again, that origin of writing, that it was not to tell a story initially, that those were still part of the oral culture. And there actually was, for example, quite a bit of written culture and oral culture that still coexisted. Having these items, I think, again, also for those business students, helping them understand that business did not spring up from Adam Smith's Wealth of a Nation. That there were many stages, and so that's a valuable aspect of things. Understanding how we kept records before we really could write with like the signature seal. Again, understanding that our origins is instrumental in our students understanding the world today. And without these items, and those that are saved in many other institutions, we might start to think that, literature began in the 19th century with Charles Dickens. It's, if we don't keep them, we'll forget.
I'm pretty sure, not just myself, but people that are watching this will agree that when you look and admire these cuneiforms, you can't help but think why the world as it is today is so fixated on revisionism. And as you just alluded to, understanding your origin, understanding the history, and how everything evolved from, the prehistorical alphabetical system here, it is essential that we make it our duty to continue to learn and appreciate history in all its facets. Having that been said, can you finally tell us how the public can access these cuneiforms, and how does this align with the Special Collections Development Policy?
So we have these in our vault, obviously.
Yes.
And we are open to the public Monday through Friday. And anyone who would like to see these or any other items is welcome to come in. We do encourage making an appointment so we can simplify and speed up your visit, so that we don't have to you don't have to wait while we go and pull things. And you can find that on, you can make an appointment through our system that's on the Special Collections website, and we'll have that link down below. And so by making that appointment, you can come in. If you just want to walk in, that's okay too. But we love sharing these. We also regularly have events, and we'll be holding another one soon, so that is geared towards the public and people getting to come in and experience some of these treasures that we have from our vault.
And finally, Zana, in all your experience in sharing these artifacts with the public, what is the one fascination that you've observed when viewers come and interact with these cuneiforms? What do they leave with?
I think typically just sort of an astonishment at the way we kept physical items that recorded something before we really had writing. That there was a way to indicate in a written form some information. And I think that, looking at this, it's hard to not be awed by the history in these items, and the fact that people could count. They couldn't really write because they didn't have that symbolic writing system yet. And yet, human ingenuity made it so that we could still have that receipt, because you want that transaction record no matter what. Any businessman will tell you that.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our episode. I would like to personally thank Zana for sharing her expertise and passion.
Thank you for being here. We love being able to share our items with as many people as possible.
And everyone out there, I highly encourage you to do make an appointment with the Special Collections here at TCU's Mary Couts Burnett Library. You do not want to miss the opportunity to interact with these marvelous artifacts.